Dad started a little footwear business, and he named it Hi-Tec.
Obviously, we were talking off camera about football players wearing the boots.
We had Dennis Wise, Paul Merson, Roy Keane, and then the FBI came to us and said, so I went to JD and I said, look, your competitor's selling this amount of safety shoes. You're missing something. And my vision of Totectors to be a bit more premium, a bit cool, would fit perfectly. But the problem is their wall space is so, I think business is bloody hard. It is really, really hard. It's tough. And there's so much competition. People always undercut you on price, but show up and never give up. So I worked for an investment bank called Morgan Stanley in Germany, and I was a trader. And I hated every minute of it. We were going for a contract to have our name on the Manchester United shirt when we signed Roy Keane, and it was £1 million.
So we're back with a brand new guest, and it's Ed van
Wezel,
just in case I got it wrong. I didn't want to say it. But Ed, welcome to the show. And just to give people a bit of background, obviously, your sort of whole business and your whole business career is involved in shoe and outdoor shoes, hiking shoes, industrial shoes.
We make shoes from squash courts to top of mountains, for police, for fire, for tradesmen.
Yeah.
So when it comes to shoes, yeah, we're a one-stop shop.
Yeah, and I'm really excited because Ed's background is with a shoe brand initially that I think everybody's had a pair of. I've had a pair of. I think, have you had a pair, Jack? Jack's had a pair. Everybody's had a pair, and everybody will know who that brand is. But just tell us a bit about the business that you're currently sort of promoting, pushing, working for, and give us a bit of background as to that business. And then I'm going to take you back and talk about the stuff that everybody's going to love and sort of reminisce and get a bit of nostalgia with.
Yeah, it's good. Firstly, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem.
What an honour to be next to a sign that says Trade Legends.
Yeah.
It's, I'm very happy to be here.
I don't think anyone's ever said that, but I'll take it. I'll take it.
No, it's really cool. But no, so I'm here because there's an old safety shoe brand called Totectors.
Yeah.
It was started in 1944, and the name Totectors was synonymous for safety shoes.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the shoe business, but the actual name of Totectors is, well, it was the first safety shoes, and they invented the steel toe cap in 1944 as a result of the Second World War work for protecting people's shoes. And in those days, they had a old-fashioned brogues shoe, and they put a steel toe in it. That was what the people wore of the day. And I'm thinking, well, safety shoes, boots, it's all pretty synonymous. There's so much of the same out there.
Yeah.
I want to make really cool safety trainers. What is a shoe that everyone's wearing at the moment, like a Nike Air Force One, Adidas Sambas, and make those with safety toes. Yeah. So keeping the ethos of the brand the same and saying, well, why can't you make a really cool trainer that you wear in the pub after work? Yeah. And such a great name of a brand, Totectors. Yeah. It's been dormant for 10 years.
I mean, I've got to say that what you're trying to do, I completely get, because the amount of times I used to look at safety and workwear boots and think it literally looks terrible. Well, I was about to say shit, but they look terrible. Yeah. I always find now, especially with, the advent of better workwear like Snickers, Helly Hansen, some of these other brands, that it's quite fashionable now.
And that's where it's moving to.
Yeah.
And I think that the consumers is the same guy that walks into a JD has to wear safety shoes. Mm. And I think the safety shoe industry and boots, it all looks the same. You can put 500 brands on the same look, and there's no real identity. Yeah. And I want to say, well, the consumers are used to shopping at JD, used to shopping at Foot Locker. Why not give them that level of coolness with like nice packaging, really cool design, nice logo, a real brand ethos, and look at the pricing and the strategy from the top down, rather than looking at a 40 quid work boot and I'm going to try and compete there. Yeah. No, I've actually gone in at £100 and said, you know what, this is the brand, this is what we stand for, great quality, and the trade taking it a bit more, from the cool angle and from the branded angle rather than a product for a price. Yeah. I always say, we want to create a brand that people want to wear, not product they have to use. Yeah. And in the industry, a lot of people have to have a product they have to use, but I want to have a brand they want to wear.
Yeah. I think people always overlook as well shoes in particular, or boots, because they're on and they forget about them, but they don't realise they've got to wear them for 10, 12, 16 hours of the day. Yeah.
And why not spend a little bit more money? Because you are having 8, 10 hours, and they're industrial athletes, and the demand on the footwear. You're carrying stuff. You're in wet. You're in dry. You're in cement. You're on your feet. You're carrying heavy stuff. It's really important, and I think it's often overlooked the actual stress that goes through your foot, your shoes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I always say you've got to spend money on shoes and a bed, because if you're not in one, you're in the other.
Very true. So or your car,
or your
van,
or your van.
In this case,
exactly.
So what we tend to do on the show is I like to sort of give people listening and watching a bit of backstory as to sort of how you got involved with the business, the types of stuff that you've done, a bit of your career. I know most of the time, obviously, you're not particularly in a trade, but you're supplying to the trades. But just give us a bit of backstory. Obviously, I want to hear about the original brand, which I'm sure most people do when they, talk to you. But just give us a bit of backstory to.
So it actually started with my father. Like I think a lot of tradesmen, they get in the trade because their uncle, the dad, brothers in it. It's no different with me. Dad started a little footwear business in Essex, in Shoebury-Ness, which is near Southend.
Yeah.
Quite appropriate name, Shoebury-Ness, shoe company. And he named it Hi-Tec in 1974. Yeah. And everyone has always said to me, "Oh, I used to have a pair of Hi-Tec. I had a pair of Hi-Tec squash." So yeah, if I had £1 for every time that they said that. But no, so yeah, it was a brand called Hi-Tec, and it started with a squash shoe. I'm actually wearing it today, and then it really went from there. But we first made squash shoes, then football boots, running shoes. I think in the 80s. 25% of the London Marathon runners wore the Hi-Tec Silver Shadow. We sold it to the MOD. It was the shoe of the of the time.
So what led your dad to suddenly all of a sudden decide I'm gonna make a shoe?
He was a squash player, and he was playing squash with his mates, and they were complaining about the Dunlop Green Flash. Yeah. And everyone says, it's just not comfortable to play squash or tennis in. And so he went to Taiwan back in the day and designed his own shoe that he believed was more comfortable, lightweight, breathable, all the rest of it. And with some savings he had, ordered a container in Taiwan, shipped it over, and he thought, if I'm going to be successful, I've got to be in the best sports shop. And then it was a shop called Lillywhites in London, on Piccadilly Circus. And then, from there it started going. And then he was a Dutch guy with a surname like Van Wezel. And he thought, how am I going to sell these shoes in England? So there was a cricketer called Tom Graveney, who was the cricket captain. He just retired. So he got in touch with him and said, look, if you go to a sports shop, nobody's going to say no to Tom Graveney, especially in the north of Yorkshire, where he's from. And he gave this guy some shoes and to sell. And so Tom Graveney actually opened up all the sports shops in the north, and Dad did the south. So that's how
I'm always amazed, because it was a similar story with this business, that obviously my dad was looking in hardware stores and kept seeing lights and lanterns and stuff like that and thinking, hold on a minute, they're selling that for £2.50. I've got a sample of that at home. And he'd go back and he was like, I could buy that for 50p, so I could bring it in, sell it for £1 or £1.50, and then the wholesaler makes some money on the top. So he did a similar thing and ordered a big container over, and my mum and dad were building their first house. It was all packaged round the house. Mum said every time I was opening cupboards, it was falling out. And I always feel that people that start businesses now don't actually realise how lucky they are, because back in the day it was probably maybe a fax machine or having to write letters on a typewriter. So,
but you do have to start. Literally, it was boxes were in the living room. Yep. It was before I was born, but boxes in the front room. That was the warehouse, and it was just shipping out shoes. It started really small.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. So the Hi-Tec brand as well. You've got like some notable things that you've done with it. Obviously, we were talking off camera about football players wearing the boots. Give us a little.
Yeah, so in the UK, we obviously became, at the time, the number one UK sports brand, British brand in England. We had 52 Premier League players, and our strategy was always to go for the
rough and readies.
For the rough and readies that the slick American corporates wanted to stay away from. So we had Dennis Wise, Paul Merson, Roy Keane, because they'd always get into a fight on a Saturday night. They'd kick a taxi. They'd go and gamble.
What was the worst one that they'd done?
I think Dennis Wise got into a fight with a taxi driver, and it was on the back pages of the newspaper. We thought, brilliant, fantastic, because then he was on the back pages. Paul Merson was with his drinking, and
I've been to a night
gambling.
With Paul Merson. Some of his stories.
Yeah, it's terrible. Yeah. But anyway, it's good characters, and so we sponsored these guys. It was a bit of the anti brand, and that worked well.
Yeah, because one thing I want to touch on there again is sort of people listening and watching this, especially if they're a content creator. That stuff that you're talking about is before the advent of internet, and it is in essence sort of where we are now with influencer marketing. So I feel like a lot of brands never really cottoned onto that. Would you say that's one of the reasons that the brand grew so successfully, was because you were quick to sort of jump on?
We were very commercial. I mean, and we still are. But then, you know, back in those days, it was Nike, it was Adi, it was Puma, it was Hi-Tec was a British brand, Adidas was the German brand, Nike was America running.
Was Reebok around at this time?
Reebok was around. It was more of a fitness brand. It was more for ladies, and then later on it became fashionable. It was actually started by a British guy as well, Joe Foster in Boston, in Bolton.
Yeah.
Then they sold to Americans. But no, so it was all the big brands, and then eventually Nike, with the powerhouse from America, their marketing dollars. We were going for a contract to have our name on the Manchester United shirt when we signed Roy Keane, and it was £1 million, and it was just it's a lot of money. And then Nike would come in and offer 6, and so they outmarketed us with their brand power that they had in America. Yeah. We couldn't keep up. Yeah. And so then we had to look at different areas to grow the brands. We went into golf, so we sponsored golfers.
You did some was it tennis shoes as well?
We had tennis. We sponsored Henri Leconte back in the 1990s, and we had tennis. We were the official shoe of Wimbledon. We had to golf, and really our big break, why we're still here today, is in the outdoors. But we went into the outdoor business based on the history of our sports. So it was lightweight, comfortable sports technology in the footwear. Yeah. And actually we thought, well, everyone's wearing the outdoor boots, really heavy, brown, stiff boots.
Ugly shoes, yeah.
And we said, you know what, we're going to make a squash shoe, what I'm wearing, basically ankle height. Yeah. And then we're going to call it the sneaker for the Sierras, because we tried to sell the squash shoes in America. We sent the shoes over to America, whole container load, and the guy in California said, I can't sell these shoes. It's got squash on it, and squash is actually a vegetable, butternut squash. And I'm in California, and nobody plays indoor sports because it's quite hot in California. Yeah. He said, what I need is a hiking boot. If you make this in a hiking boot, I'll make it the Sierra sneaker for the Sierra Nevada mountains in California. And that's how we became an outdoor brand. And it was based on our sports shoe heritage. And that's really what we're still known for today. We still sell, Blacks, Millets, Go Outdoors, all the outdoor, Duke of Edinburgh award scheme with the official partner. So,
and really, is that still the biggest part of the business now? Or?
Yeah, so really on the outdoor side. So we don't really sell many trainers, so to speak, anymore, because that's become very fashionable. Yeah. So we're now, Hi-Tec's more of an outdoor brand in the UK. But we got that position, actually globally, we sell in over 100 countries because of that sports shoe heritage, and the failure in America actually became our success.
So when that guy said that to you in America, was it at the time, did you see it as a risk to suddenly deviate from what you were doing with the success of the squash shoes and stuff like that? Was it just something where you knew if I didn't go down this route, then potentially with Nike's big money behind it, would the business eventually fail if you hadn't have?
Well, nobody was in the outdoor industry because it was a cottage industry. It was like, a local cobbler would make some outdoor boots in the 80s, 90s, and it wasn't an industry. It was dog walking, and walkers really wasn't sexy. So Nike wasn't there. Yeah. You can't sponsor the best dog walker and own the industry. With Nike, you just say, I want the best tennis player, the best athlete. But in the outdoors, the outdoor industry is actually quite opposite that. You've got to be a bit granola, a bit, socks and sandals. And that authenticity we got by being a very honest shoe for an honest price. Yeah. And that really paid off.
And do you think it helped as well with the outdoor market being a British brand for you over here, rather than being sort of, American and coming over and then trying to say, well, for the British outdoors? Do you think that helped you at all?
Absolutely. No, I think, the British consumers are very loyal, and they know that Hi-Tec was a brand that started in the UK. I think they've been very that definitely does help us in England, why we've been around 50 years. That's pretty impressive.
So you've done the Hi-Tec, then you've moved into the outdoor market. Then how does the industrial
actually
side?
There's a halfway house as well. There's a brand called Magnum. Yeah. So we sold these hiking boots in the US, and they were quite comfortable. And then the FBI came to us and said,
As they do.
There was a letter from Virginia, from the head of the FBI, and said, your Hi-Tec hiking boots are amazing. Can you make them in a black leather? Because then we can wear them with our uniform. And it's based on the same ethos of lightweight sports shoe technology. And we call it the Hi-Tec Magnum, after Magnum PI, the series. And then now Magnum is a standalone brand on its own, selling in all over the world. because we had the Hi-Tec distribution.
Do you still sell them to the FBI?
Yeah. Okay. We sell them to the UK MOD,
Yeah.
police, ambulance. We sell to fire brigades in Australia for the bushfires. We sell them to the Singapore Army, all over Brazil. It's probably the biggest safety certified uniform brand in the world.
Yeah.
But it came from the Hi-Tec network and the Hi-Tec, stable.
Yeah.
So then with Magnum, I learnt the whole, certification, slip resistance, steel toe, composite plates, all the really technical aspects. And I actually really enjoyed that aspect of real high performance footwear because, all right, you can't make performance sports footwear because Nike won that race.
Yeah.
But actually what we can learn from the Magnum industry and now the Totectors industry from the sports trade, fierce competition, you've got to market your products phenomenally well. You've got to, have a marketing campaign, marketing story. And actually, I see that opportunity in Totectors with everything I've learned from what Nike basically did.
Yeah.
That's my kind of, north star for Totectors in this industry.
Because it's sort of gone full circle, really. Is if I'm looking at the shoes that you're doing now, they're a lot more fashionable. So you've sort of gone from being fashionable, having the football boots, the trainers, into something that wasn't probably that fashionable, and then you brought it full circle now to bring it back into what wasn't fashionable to being fashionable again.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it is the guy that walks into a JD Sports at the weekend, who is the tradie, who that's our guy. Yeah. Well, why give him a boring pair of boots?
Did JD sell Totectors or?
I have been to JD. I went to the head office in Bury, and I just said, look, your consumers buy their Adidas's, their Reeboks, their Nikes in your stores. They have to wear safety shoes Monday to Friday. So I went to JD and I said, look, your competitor's selling this amount of safety shoes. You're missing something. And my vision of Totectors to be a bit more premium, a bit cool, would fit perfectly. But the problem is their wall space is so competitive.
Even dropship from online?
Well, I said, I'll give me one freestanding unit or put it online. And at the moment, at the time, it just wasn't right. But I will revisit it because I still believe that the right products in JD for safety shoes, in cool and Totectors, I think would fit that.
The other thing as well with the retail angle with something like safety boots is you can order in, it's there next day. Yeah. Whereas a lot of the wholesalers, if you order stuff from Greenham's or, I don't know, not so much CEF, but I don't know, like a plumber's merchant, City Plumbing, it's 2 days, or you have to wait for it to get delivered to a branch.
Yeah, you're really got to be overnight now.
Yeah.
And to be competitive, you've got to do next day delivery. So yeah.
So you've gone full circle then. So you've got these boots with the FBI are wearing and other armies and stuff around the world. How then does that sort of tee you up for coming back full circle into what you do now?
Well, yeah. I mean, I have my outdoor brand, which is Hi-Tec. You've got your uniform brand, which is Magnum. And we try to do safety shoes under Hi-Tec and safety shoes under Magnum. But then if you're selling safety shoes, the army, they say, well, you're not a serious brand if you're also selling to the trade, because there's a certain amount of brand snobbery. So I thought, well, I need to have a safety brand for that silo, because sometimes the brand elasticity doesn't go that far.
I think Reebok do safety shoes.
Yeah, but what you do find out, a lot of these companies license the product to a safety expert. So New Balance or Reebok or Puma safety would all be not owned by the brands, but they'll give it to a third party and they pay a royalty to say, well, I'll make your safety shoes, because Reebok doesn't have a clue how to make safety shoes, nor do they want to. So, but the guys that do will pay for the brand name under a license.
Okay.
But I thought Totectors was such a quintessential English heritage brand, factory in Rawns,
good story,
near Northampton, and that's why I opened the office when I breathed new life into the brand. I said,
so did you acquire them or?
Yeah, I just registered the brand name everywhere, and I said, look, I now own Totectors.com. Okay. I've registered the brand name in all these countries, registered all the trademarks. Went to lawyers, and anybody that used to run the brand, I wrote letters to and said, look, this is me, this is what I'm doing. If you have a problem with it, let me know now. Yeah. Otherwise, I am the rightful owner of Totectors. I never heard anything back. So I got a beautiful, beautiful brand with such rich heritage, actually for nothing.
Love that.
I should make up a story that it cost me millions and millions.
But stuff like that.
And that was in COVID.
Yeah.
Because in COVID, also, you have time to think. Yeah. Whereas now, you don't have time to think. You're on a treadmill. And COVID, I really thought, hey, that would be really cool. And I can go back to the village where it started. I can sponsor the local football club. I want to be grassroots, back in the community, with a fantastic name. And this is our 80th anniversary.
Yeah.
And so we were here.
Well, the funny thing you mentioned about COVID was because I work at a million miles an hour when I'm in here. When eventually I did slow down, like you were talking about there, we suddenly diversified into how many different things did we start doing? Tool bags, safety glasses, tape measures, all this stuff that I'd always had designs for, but I'd never got round to actually having like enough time to put a strategy together to sort of implement them all at different times. And that revolutionised our business. But I just want to say, in terms of anybody listening and watching to this, like that story that you've just said about acquiring the name, like I know so many people who want to do something, or they'll see, oh, somebody else has got that name. And I just think what you've just said there is just do it and then see what happens, because a lot of people, they hold themselves back.
Yeah.
And then think, I'm not going to do it. But what a story that you've managed to get all that, and you've got a backstory to it already. It's already
such an authentic brand, and it was bought by private equity, and it went out of business, and it was just it wasn't there anymore.
Yeah.
And I just think that the UK industry, there is a place for and the good thing is it does what it says in the tin. It protects your toes.
Yeah.
So as a brand name, it's legendary for trade legends, but it's legendary because it's Totectors.
Yeah.
It does what it says in the Von seal. It does what it says on the tin.
Yeah. What sort of products do you do? Obviously, you're doing shoes, but you do like shoe protectors as well, boot protectors.
We call them shoe mates. So obviously, safety shoes are probably dirty by nature when once they've been worn. If you're going into a house, you're on a job, you've got to go into in a new build, or you go into someone's house, you don't want to make the floor dirty.
Yeah.
So we then make really nice shoe mates. We want to get away from plastic.
Everybody does. Yeah.
Doing our bit as much as possible. These are reusable. You just can hook them in your van or
can you wash them as well?
You can wash them. And then you've basically got clean shoe protection at all times. And we do insoles as well.
Okay.
Because some people want to have customised insoles a bit thicker under the arch, so we do that. And actually, with the knowledge I've got from the sports trade, I know that the arch fit from one of the largest sports manufacturers. I've bought that into Totectors. So the knowledge from that industry actually goes into the Totec. So anything to do with shoes, I want to do, whether it's shoe mates, shoe protection, insoles. I don't want to do apparel. Don't want to get in that game. Yeah. I love footwear, and I know I'm good at, and I want to stick to that.
I mean, you've been quite clever, because obviously for me, when I was running here, I was looking and thinking, well, where do I go with lights? Because obviously shoes, you've got like the covers that go on, the insoles and stuff like that. There's not really anywhere where I could have gone, so I had to start looking at other things. I mean, just even being able to sort of go, well, okay, we're going to do these for FBI and for military use, and then you've got these for hiking, walking, you've got those for sports. Like I even think that's quite clever how you've managed to
segment it. Yeah. And also with different brand names, because I've tried to do one brand name across.
It doesn't work.
And it doesn't work because a brand is encapsulated in emotions. And what one person loves in the outdoors, if you see it in another industry, you think, well, what is this brand? What does it stand for? It's all sorts. So I said, no, this is this, and actually have laser focus of Totectors is premium, quite fashionable for the younger guys, and that's what Totectors is. Hi-Tec is probably more entry level, more volume for dog walkers. That's that channel, and then it's clear for everybody.
Yeah. So what's what would you say now is the sort of future plan for you guys and for the brand? Is there anything that you're looking to introduce?
Well, if the brand is a person, it's 2 years old with an 80-year heritage.
Yeah.
So it's so young. I've only been going to 2 years, but we've got Screwfix, Tool Station. We're partnering up with the Bunzel business, because they've got a lot of contracts. So we're just getting going.
Yeah.
And
what differences do you see across all of these sort of marketplaces? Because obviously I know what it's like trying to deal with government agencies when you're trying to fulfil procurement contracts and stuff like that, just how laborious it is. And then you've got, obviously, if you're dealing with retail, that's a completely different animal. And then you've got wholesale businesses.
I think especially with the government business and the contracts and the tenders, that is something that you just have to learn by doing, and you're going to fail a lot of the time.
Yeah.
You're probably going to fail nine times, and then you're going to win one.
Yeah.
I think, well, why did I win that contract? What was the difference? And I think it's just learning by doing, and it is not easy. And I had actually acquired personnel who had that experience, because I'm not from that world. I love footwear, I love branding, I have the commercial side of things. But I had to get people in to help me with the contracts, and now we've got many government contracts, from the Middle East.
It's hard work.
100,000 pairs for the Ministry of Defence in Oman, with the #1 uniform brand in Australia, all with contracts. Yeah. And the problem with contracts is they're great when they come in, but if they don't renew or you lose it, you can't build your overheads to a contract. Yeah. So I say we have to have a certain level of business, and if a big contract comes in, we have a big nice out, we go out for dinner, we celebrate it, we might pay yourself a bonus, but you cannot then go and live your life with overheads wise to that level, because then it's not sustainable.
You're beholden to it.
Yeah. So it's kind of like
just give us a sort of, a scale of the size of things. I mean, even like Hi-Tec, like how many pairs of shoes or trainers or boots would you primarily sell in a year? Like what's obviously Sports Direct.
7 million pairs.
Is that the most you've ever?
That's what we sell globally. So that's, if you line them up, actually, from when my dad started the business, you can actually go to the moon and back with shoe boxes. Mm. If you look at the dimensions of a shoe box, how far the moon is, you can actually go there and back with shoe boxes.
Absolutely mental. So 7 million pairs.
That's in 50 years. Yeah.
Unbelievable. And that's across all of the businesses.
That's across all business. Yeah.
Unbelievable. There's me thinking I do a lot of business, and then you think 7 million pairs.
But it's a big world out there. If you think in India, you sell a couple of 100,000 pairs in India.
Mm. You're not even touching the sides.
No. So it's the scale of these big countries like China, India, Brazil.
Why do you think then that somebody like Nike or Adidas never really got into that sort of sphere?
I think especially with the safety industry and the big slip resistance and certification is a different world, and these big companies are big marketing machines. And I know Nike wouldn't want the liability of somebody slipping, because somebody who would slip might think, oh, there's a lot of money to be made. And the legal culture in America is such that it's they just say, I don't want to touch it, which is great, because that means we can actually...
They've started doing hiking boots, haven't they?
Oh, hiking boots for sure, yeah. No.
But I'd never seen them do a hiking boot until a few years back.
No, and actually what you find is a lot of the outdoor trade, the outdoor industry, they don't like the big brands because they want to be... It's a different consumer. But no, I mean, the outdoor industry has also become very sporty. Yeah. So it's very, the sportification of the outdoors is very prominent. So I think the lines between what is an outdoor shoe and a sports shoe has become very blurred.
Are you wasting time? I think that some of you probably are, and I have a solution for you. Nobody wants to do any type of admin. Now, I have a solution for you, and it is called Tradify. It's a fully automated job scheduling, invoicing, and quoting all in one place. Now, that software is going to save you 12 hours a week, and all by using a simple software solution. Now, you can try it for 2 weeks, absolutely free, no cards needed, and you'll even get support in person from Tradify themselves. Now, when you're done, you can always come back to me and thank me, but just enjoy the extra 12 hours that you're going to gain from just using the software.
So, next few years then, what would you like to see with the brand?
With Totectors, international expansion. It's very difficult in the safety industry because the certification in Europe is different to the UK, which is different to America, which is different to Australia and New Zealand. Yeah. But actually, because we sell to all these countries, I can actually go global. I've got all the factory capabilities in our hand to go Australia, New Zealand certification, CSA in Canada, ASTM in America, UK, EN. So that's exciting because not a lot of brands can do that. They're very much local heroes. I'm a safety shoe brand in that country. But with our history and our network already...
They don't want to put it through the testing either because they think, well,
it's costly.
I might not sell, I don't know, the amount that I need to get the money back through for testing or something like that.
The barriers to entry are high. Yeah. 50 grand for a certification. But you've got to put your balls in the line and put your money where your mouth is. and you've got to go for it. So that's really what I want to do. We've got the network, we've got the capabilities. We're already selling in New Zealand.
Yeah.
The number one big chain there is called Placemakers, and we're in Placemakers. So in 2 years, we're selling in England, in Holland, and now in Australia and New Zealand as well. So yeah.
But here's one question for you then, because I know it can't really be related because a trade business is completely different to sort of, running an international brand.
It's not. It's the same. The ethos is exactly the same. You got to show up. You got to work hard. You got to take risks. And actually, all the tradesmen are all entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
They've got bills to pay. They've got to put petrol in the van. They've got to put food on the table. Got to pay for a holiday. Got mortgages to pay. It's no different in our industry. Yeah, the scale is different, but the ethos is exactly the same. And there is no difference. I lie awake at night thinking about business and finances and God, how can I do that? And I think tradesmen, people in the trade will do the same because it's tough.
Yeah.
But that's being an entrepreneur and owning your business.
Yeah.
But
And what bit of advice would you give to somebody that's listening and watching that's maybe self-employed that thinks, how do I grow the business? How do I take on more staff? How do I, make sure I've got the cash flow or the finance to expand the business? Like, what would you say is a good way of doing that, or some tips that you could give to somebody who's sitting there thinking?
It's perseverance, because there are loads of what would you do in that, but I think business is bloody hard. It is really, really hard. It's tough, and there's so much competition. People always undercut you on price, but show up and never give up, because the next day you might just get the rub of the green, and there is an element of luck involved, being in the right place at the right time. But I think that the last few years have been actually quite tough in our industry. COVID for us was all right because everyone was buying shoes and it didn't stop. But then during COVID, everyone got drunk on direct to consumer because the internet became so easy. Everyone's sitting at home. And they think, well, my margins direct to consumer are double what it is selling to wholesale. So you know what? Actually, I need five global accounts, JD, Foot Locker, and they're my key accounts. Actually, they've come back from that hugely. I think retail is so important. It's a showroom for your brand, because sure, you can online portray what you want the consumers and your target market to see, but I think stacking it on in a retail store or stocking it in a retail store, you can actually compare the competition. You can pick up a shoe, that's 100 quid. That looks like this. Oh, that's 90 quid. Oh, actually, that feels quite soft. I feel that fits. So I think that retail will always have
its place.
And I think by going direct to retail, by brands going direct to consumers, they've actually started to compete with their customers. And so the relationship between retailers and brands has actually changed a lot.
Yeah.
That retailers have become brands and brands have become retailers. And so there's a lot of competition and also a little bit more respect for each other. And I think that the retail is actually only going to be more important. And a lot of brands that focus solely on direct to consumer have realised, actually, I do need retail. On, which is a new running brand from Switzerland, they said, we're only going to go direct to consumer. We're not going to do any wholesale. Actually, they've realised that if they're not in the big retailers, they're missing a trick.
Yeah.
So I think retail's coming back.
Yeah, because Gymshark did something similar, and I think Ben went and started his first retail store on Regent Street, I think, and then he did another one in, is it Westfield?
Yeah, phenomenal.
And then Vista Village. And I always look at that and think, I dread to think how much the rent is on Regent Street.
Well, I mean, go big or go home. Go in the A1 location.
Yeah,
I think that's phenomenal, huge respect. I think what that business has done.
Yeah. So and
that was all influencer marketing. Yeah. That's how it started.
So he's going the opposite way. And I see a lot of other brands. There's another brand called Manière Devoir, which was all direct to consumer, and they've now got a store in London. There's another gym brand that I like in the US, and they've started opening retail locations. So
Castor is another brand. Now they're big into making the football shirts.
Yeah.
Started direct to consumer, selling hoodies, really high level, high quality hoodies. They got a bit of private equity investment.
Yeah.
And then
it was Andy Murray as well, wasn't it? Who started?
Yeah, so I think
they brought him on.
They got sports stars to invest in their brand. And so they thought, well, we need money.
Yeah.
Sports stars, if you start pushing it, you can have a share of a brand.
Yeah.
It was a very cost-effective way of getting your brand out there. So I think they got Owen Farrell
rugby,
for rugby. They got Andy Murray. They had a cricketer as well, I can't remember which one, but there's a couple of founders that got behind it in their sports. So yeah, it's really cool, and also direct to consumer. But
What else you got, Jack?
It's a bit of a cheesy one, but what's like your proudest milestone?
actually, I think Totectors is. I'm not saying because I'm here with Trade Legends, but what I think of personally from an idea. It didn't exist, just an idea, and that to see where we are now, that all the national chains.
Because even shoes, like I class it as sort of semi part of your workwear, but even shoes are like workwear shoes. It's so competitive.
It is competitive, but I'm not looking at the trade. I'm not looking down. I'm only looking forward.
Yeah.
Because my vision is very different to. I don't want to compete at 40, 50 quid where the volume is. I want to. I'm a bit more premium. And I just have a vision that I want to, follow and not deviate from that. And I don't want to get
bogged down with
it. Then your margins get small, and you're, fighting to do deals. I've got nothing to lose. I've only got something to gain. And yeah, you've got an investment that you could lose, and all the money you've invested in it. But no, I think personally in business, my biggest achievement is what's happening with Totectors at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, because I like one thing that we always bang on about here is 90% of the people that we have on the show is we found them from social media.
Yeah,
I mean, so would you say for the business that you've got now, Totectors, it's helped you social media, or is it
100%? Because we can actually now, with our marketing, our positioning, our photography, it's very difficult to get that if you were to buy a billboard, or as you used to do in the olden days, buy a billboard from the buyer of Screwfix on his route to the office. You find out where he lives, and you put a big Totectors billboard on his way to the office that he sees it. That was a way to try and get into the big retailers.
Yeah.
But now you just go to the consumers and you just say to the consumers, "This is my brand," and actually you can pull the sales in rather than to the big retailers, rather than having to sell and push your products into a retailer. You actually create the demand from the consumer to have to buy those products.
Yeah.
So you're pulling in sales with social media because of what you can create and how you can tell your story, rather than pushing sales in traditionally to a retailer. It's you're in control of your own brand, basically, not your retailers.
Yeah.
Which is good.
anything else from your side?
I could talk about the factories and doing my apprenticeship, having to learn the hard way. No, I wanted to be a pilot.
Yeah.
I actually wanted to be a pilot. And Dad said no. He said, if you're a pilot, you're on a fixed salary. He said the only way to make money is to be your own boss.
My dad and your dad sound the same.
And he said, you sit at the back of the plane, you got a lot more earning potential than sitting at the front, and you're watching a computer. But I said, I want to be a pilot. And he never said, are you going to take over the business? He never said, I want you to be the CEO, because there would have been too much pressure. But he created the environment where I couldn't say no. So in my school holidays, I'd work in the warehouse, loading lorries. I'd go on business trips with him, learning, as I was 16, 17, 18. And then you realise you actually know a lot that's going on in the business. And he would say, we went to New York for a meeting. He said, don't say anything in this meeting. This is why I'm doing it. I'll tell you afterwards, how it went and the strategy, but just don't say anything, just listen. And so he would guide me and bring me up. And I learned so much. But I didn't want to work for the business because it's just like, oh, look at him, it's all right for him. He's a father and son, and he's walked into the job silver spoon. So I actually worked for a bank. So I worked for an investment bank called Morgan Stanley in Germany, and I was a trader.
You've gone from flying planes to trading.
So I was a trader at Morgan Stanley in Frankfurt, and I hated every minute of it. Sitting behind 6 computer screens for 10 hours a day, and the only thing was make as much money as possible, as quickly as possible. And you have a miserable life. And I just thought, I looked at the fat bloke at the end of the desk, and I thought, who is the boss? I said, I'm going to be like him. And it was only about what you're going to do with your bonus, what you're going to do with your bonus. And the money-making culture, I thought, no, there's more to that. So I came with my tail between my legs to my dad, and I said, actually, I wouldn't mind, starting. He said, if you're going to start in the business, you're going to have to learn the hard way. Yeah. You've worked in the warehouse in your school holidays and university holidays. He said, but now you're going to have to work in the factories, and you're going to have to really learn it on the production line. So I went to Asia and I spent 6 months on a production line, sleeping in the dormitories in the factories. And I'm not the smallest bloke. The stools, half my ass cheek would sit on a stool, and I was bent over stitching shoes all day. I actually cried. It was so hard. It was in 40 degree heat, and he said, "You're not allowed to stay in nice hotels because you can do that when you're older, but you're going to learn. You're staying in the dormitories, bowl of rice," and it was so hard.
Yeah. Makes you appreciate, I think, when you do see that or you are involved in that, because then you understand.
And he said to me, I'm going to test you. You got to come back and you got to know the price of every single shoe in the collection within 25 cents of the buying price. So I came back. He laid all the whole collection out. And he said, "What's the price of this?" I said, $25.50. Yeah, okay. He said, because then you know, if you know the price of what you're buying, that's absolute fundamentals. So I had to really learn the hard way. And he actually told the factory owners, "Oh, my son's a problem child. Treat him mean," because he wanted me to have his military service experience of really just hard labour. Yeah. And the factory owner turned around to me and said, "It's not true what your father said about you. He said you're actually quite a hard worker." So I thought, right, I'm going to show these guys that I am a hard work ethic. And you have to work twice as hard. I mean, I think in the trade as well, you've got a lot of family businesses, a lot of fathers and sons all working together. And if the son comes in, I think you have to work twice as hard to prove yourself, because you're almost 1-0 down. Because
it's expectant.
Oh well, he got the job because of his old man. But you got to work twice as hard to prove that that's not the case. So and eventually I was 33, and I became a CEO and had like 650 people under me. All over the world, with offices in South Africa.
But even that like little stint on the production line gives you a lot of background then as to, okay, this is how the shoe's made. This is like the process for doing that. So every part of the business you're packing in the warehouse. My dad used to do similar to me. Come and pack in the warehouse, be on the phone, do some telesales. Type some emails or type on the typewriter, whatever it was. And he used to very similar.
I had to be in every department. I had to work time in finance, time in product, in marketing, in operations, to really learn it, and in different countries. To learn every single facet. And then after about four or 5 years of moving around the business, he said, "I'm going to now put you in my office. Every one of my phone calls will be on loudspeaker. Every one of your phone calls will be on loudspeaker. So you see exactly what I do every day." Then there's total transparency. I can hear what he's doing. I can listen to all his conversations, think about what he can do, and give me tips and advice. And by being in the same room together and being in every meeting, that really helps. And for example, the whole Totectors trademarks, one of my first jobs as general manager was managing all the global trademarks. So I understood how trademarks worked, and that's when I thought about Totectors. I thought, actually, I know how trademarks works. I'm going to do this, and this, because if I register it, then I'm the owner. Then I can go to anybody who's owned it in the past and say, "Hey, speak now or forever hold your peace." But that experience that I had as a kid working on trademarks really helps.
I mean, so what we tend to do at this point is it's almost like a bit of a Jerry Springer style final thought. So if you've got any advice, or you want to talk about a particular product, or you want to sort of, shamelessly plug yourself, then this is the sort of the time that you can do it. But I mean, most people sort of take this little period of time to sort of go, right, well, I wish I'd have done this, or...
No, I think with Totectors, my vision is, as I alluded to earlier, is to create a brand that people want to wear, not just a product they have to use. And in the industry, people have to wear a safety shoe, and it's often ill-fitting, heavy, cheap, and it's I just thought I want to reset that industry. I want to just give the guys and girls a product that actually doesn't exist, that looks really cool. You cannot tell it's got a toe in it, because our strapline is keep your look. You've got to keep your look, and how people dress is important. So really, the whole vision for Totectors was to keep your look and build a really cool brand. And I don't have many expectations. I'm not going to ask people to buy. Just take a look at the website and have a look. I'm really proud of it. I mean, if Nike did work boots, this is what it would look like. And that was my remit. And it's, that's...
I love how the industry's changed, because like I said to you before, like the Snickers workwear, the Helly Hansen, I think it's Black Lader, now you actually see people wearing it just as
But it's
normal clothes on a
it looks
on a
cool
week.
now.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, look at Dickies, Carhartt, Carhartt workwear in America. It's a
Massive.
$1 billion company in America, and actually now it's one of the biggest street brands,
It's
and it comes from workwear.
It's probably bigger than their fashion side.
It is,
probably.
yeah.
It's just, but I feel like when I was looking at some of your shoes that you do, some of the work boots that you do, I feel like those could actually still be worn if somebody was going out, straight after work and they were going somewhere and they didn't want to get changed.
But that is the remit. You don't want to wear a pair of clown toe work boots having a beer after work.
Yeah.
Actually, some of the guys even wear them at the weekends because they do look, they
Like
look
a normal
really
shoe,
cool.
yeah.
And we even did a white one because if you're in the sneaker industry, trainers, you got to have white. And I just said I have to have a white one. And actually, then all the painters and decorators said
Love it,
that's perfect. So they've got a white trainer, looks like an Air Force One, with a composite toe, composite plate, or aluminium toe.
I saw those, and then there was another. I think it was almost looked like a brown suede pair that was more like a trainer. The browns.
Yeah, it's like a tan colour.
Tan colour.
Yeah, tan colour. Yeah, and that's the Denton because Roger Denton was the guy that started Totectors in 1944.
Okay.
And he partnered with a guy called Williams. So our first shoe was called the Denton after Mr. Denton, and now it's the Williams because Williams and Denton started it in 1944. And our next shoe is called the Rushton because that's where the business was started in Rushton in Northamptonshire. So branding is all about telling stories, being authentic. You can't buy that story. It's authentic. So everything we do has got to be authentic and real.
Nice little nugget there. If anybody's wondering.
Yeah, there you go. You're welcome.
I'm going to say thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you.
Really
Enjoyed
appreciate it. And it's nice for a bit of nostalgia for me because obviously wearing a pair of your football boots when I was younger. But just want to say as well, for anybody listening or watching, go give us a follow, YouTube, and go and subscribe on there because that really helps the channel. So thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.